where you got to do that.
Whenever I hear people talk too much about politics, even myself included, my own words, I'm like, you're talking about like a rigged game. It's like you're talking about pro wrestling.
Yeah.
It's like you're talking about something that's, you're pretending that it's real.
But you know what? Of course, the government is corrupt as fuck. But when you're talking about stuff like that, like are the elections rigged? Or do our votes count? The one thing that I learned from these midterms is that if your vote didn't count and it's all decided like pro wrestling, then there wouldn't be all this voter fraud and all these computers that can,
But voter fraud's not what I'm talking about.
So
I'm not
Russia
talking about
wouldn't have to get
voting.
involved?
I'm talking about the way, once you're in office, the way things get
No,
handled. and what's
I get it.
influenced.
No, I get it. But what I'm
That's
saying is,
rigged.
from the elections, you see that your votes do matter.
Yes.
There's a lot of corruption and fraud going on. But if it was all rigged like WWE, they wouldn't need to do all that. They were like,
No,
this
I
guy's
would
gonna win,
say-
that guy's gonna.
You're
You
right.
still got to vote.
You're right
Yeah,
in
like, we
terms
don't
of
get
voting.
So it's
Yeah.
still the real system,
Right.
Because a lot of people think it's not a real system.
Right.
Like it doesn't matter. They already decide, and they're just going to
Yeah.
put them in. No, the way they actually decide is they decide who they're going to rig the machines for.
Yes.
But the votes still count. You just
Right.
got to make sure that there's no shenanigans going on.
The votes
right?
most certainly do count, but where it gets really squirrely, and this is where politics get goofy, is in why do politicians do what they do? Do they do what they do to support the people, or do they do what they do because special interest groups have influenced
Yeah, they get
them?
there's
There's way more of
Well,
that.
not only that, here's what's really wild. So Capitol Hill, when you're in Congress, they call that the farm team because in Capitol Hill you spend 6 years, 7 years. Let's just say you're a senator. Now, when you're a senator for, I don't know, 10 years, when you're on Capitol Hill as a congressman for 10 years, you develop real connections and relationships with government officials who make decisions. You also understand how government works. You understand who's actually influencing who. So now what do? So let's say you lose an election, or let's say you decide, I made my 160 grand a year, can't really live on that money. You go to K Street, you join a lobbying firm. And because you've been there for 6 or 9 or 10 years, you know a lot of people. And that lobbying firm goes, hey, we'll pay you $1 million now. And all you got to do is drive to Capitol Hill every day, get in there and influence, use your connections so that we can get what we want from government. So corporations hiring lobbying firms to lobby for their bottom line. So now you're working to influence government. And the problem is when you're in Congress, you know that. You know you have a job waiting if you can make great connections. And now Washington becomes an economy of influence.
That's the game, right?
Yes. You got to have Lawrence Lessig on your goddamn podcast. He can explain. He's a Harvard professor. That motherfucker.
Yeah, you keep telling me about the podcast you did with him.
He'll break it down. I did listen to that. I sent it to you, I think.
Yeah.
It's Lawrence Lessig. He breaks it down. He wrote a book called Republic Lost. And he's got a couple TED Talks.
On
but
how
that dude,
politics works?
Yes. And basically he said, your government doesn't represent you. And here's why. Here's how it works. When he breaks it down, you go, it's simple the way he breaks it down because he's a constitutional scholar out of Harvard. But you're like, fuck. And what he said was fascinating. He said, Washington's a place where even if you're a good person, you must behave in a corrupt manner if you want to survive. And that's when you have
Bill
problems.
Clinton.
When good people have to behave corruptly. Yeah.
Yeah, the bright side of
I'm a
all
Bill
that.
Clinton fan after
The bright
watching that
side of
doc.
all that is the fact that there is like people getting suicided and bribery going on. That means that there's hope, that there's good people inside
Sure.
of government that you got to watch.
Yes.
You got to watch your ass, or we got to hire
If you
someone
don't
to
play the
kill you
game.
because we don't want to go to jail. So the fact that all
They don't
that's
have, they
done
don't
out
have to
of
kill you.
fear,
They can just get you out.
or
you know?
or it depends on what it
JFK.
is. What I'm saying is the fact that there is all that bribery and suiciding. That means that there's good people in there that are going after the bad people.
But
You
they'll-
know,
they'll
so to me, I look at the bright side. I used to think there was no hope. I used to think, fuck, like when the Bushes were in office, Clinton, Obama, I was like, I didn't pay attention to shit. I just said, they're all corrupt. It's all rigged. And it's all, there's nothing you could do about it. But, over the last couple of years, since Trump got into office, now I'm like paying attention. Like there are some good people trying to do some good shit, like Trey Gowdy. Listen to that motherfucker. Trey Gowdy's a bad motherfucker.
What are you talking about?
Matt Gaetz. No, politicians.
Who are these people?
They're congressmen.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's some
some
great people going after the bad people. That's why there needs to be bribes and suiciding and blackmail. The reason there's blackmail is because there's good people in there. If everybody was bad, why would you blackmail anybody?
Well, the problem is it's really subtle the way they can get you out, though, because when your donors are telling you which way to vote, you as a politician go in there with all your ideas and you can't vote your conscience.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad shit. There's a lot of bad shit.
You got to vote for the money.
You're preaching to the choir over here. I'm not going to defend.
So you fix that. So Lawrence Lessig has one of the ideas he talks about is anonymous donations. So watch. You're a politician.
Right.
I'm a corporation.
Right.
I give and I through a super PAC or whatever it might be, I give your campaign a lot of money. Now, you're a regular dude. You're not corrupt, but human beings, when somebody gives them a real hand when they needed it, you can't help but to feel a little indebted.
Of course, yeah.
What if there are two ideas? What if you had a voucher system with all of us were given a certain amount of money every election cycle, and we were allowed anonymously to give that money to whoever we thought was a viable candidate? It'd be anonymous. Or what if all donations were anonymous? What if you couldn't say who it was from? But if you know you got a lot of stuff from GE, or you know you got a lot of stuff from Lockheed, and there's a bill that comes up for Saudi Arabia to buy a bunch of tanks or whatever, or weaponry, it's going to be very hard for you to vote against that. And if you do, those people that got you in power last time aren't going to get you in power the next time.
They basically figured out a way to make bribing legal. They just give you stuff
and
and hook you
works,
up
bro.
and take care of you and add money to your campaign, but then don't exactly tell you what to do.
Right.
But you know what the fuck's going on.